at the time it was $5, which was mind blowing. We were
Yeah.
doing this all as fuel was rising at a rapid rate.
I wonder what it's now.
I can't imagine, but
And how did it start out? Like, what was the origin story?
Too much alcohol.
Really? Okay.
Says if God wanted us to have fiberglass boats, he would have given us fiberglass trees.
It's for fishermen. It's not for taking the wife and the wife's friends.
I think that it's a really, really pretty bit.
And then there was a blur that went by and ended up in the cockpit, as far as if I can remember correctly.
Welcome back to State of Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm Nick Carullo. Tonight I'm joined with Anthony Pino, my co-host, captain of the Blood Money, and with Hooked Optic. No guests tonight, and Anthony's going to give us a little rundown of kind of what we're going to talk about.
yeah, I just think we should chat about our, how we get ready to go for our trips. And, you've had a long refit season or refit session and for your boat. And then now you're getting ready to kind of start to hit it hard with your new boat. And, I just got back from a long trip from Wrightsville to the Dominican and back to Ocean City, which is, I don't know, I think it's something over 4,000 miles on the boat. Just kind of let people know how that all works as far as planning, provisioning, dealing with stuff. And I don't know how people, the help you get from people. I mean, you helped me a lot. Rich Barrett helped me a lot on the trip. JT, the guys from Doña Lucy, James Turner from the Salty Fair.
Salty Fair, yeah.
Pete Manuel from the Delta Dawn, coolest dude in the whole world. Everybody had a lot of help. So I think maybe people that don't get to do what we do don't really know what goes into it. And I think we could enlighten people a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Start us off. You, like you said, you just got back, big trip, and I guess let's talk a little bit about what goes into just the preparation for a big trip like that.
Well, we decided that we were going to go, and I think it was January, right around January, that we were going to go at the end of February, beginning of March to the DR. So I did probably about 2 weeks of work by myself, doing our general seasonal maintenance we had the boat here out of the water in Ocean City. And then we brought the boat down to Wrightsville Beach where we typically keep it in the winter to case and yachts. And we had just a handful of things taken care of, not a whole lot, just new 24-volt plugs put in for our new dredge reels, a little bit of varnish work. I refinished the chairs between October when we stopped fishing, or November when we stopped fishing, and February I refinished the chairs and we got all new cushions and everything. So the boat looked really good. Mechanically, it was pretty good when we left Ocean City. We did a 1,000-hour service in Wrightsville Beach before we went. So that was the reason why we went. Nate Davis at Davis Diesel in Wrightsville Beach, who we should have on the pod because he's a really, really talented young mechanic that runs a really tight ship at Davis Diesel, did our 1,000-hour service. And we did that. So we decided once all that was wrapped up, we kind of picked a day. I think it was like February 20th or something like that we were kind of going to leave Wrightsville. So I drove down to Wrightsville with me and two other guys, Nathan Lang, who was our mate for the trip, for a full-time mate, and Bill Manguson, who was a buddy of mine that was doing the delivery with us, because I didn't really know what our schedule was going to be getting down there. I kind of expected a couple days of long, maybe a night and a day. I kind of, when I was planning, I wanted to go like from Palm Beach, make one stop for fuel, and then go the rest of the way. Down the road, I'll tell you that. We'll discuss that. It didn't work out that way. But so yeah, we drove down. We put the three of us put 4 good days of boat work in, and then we provisioned the boat, which basically entailed buying 2 chest freezers that we sat in the salon on the way down.
Was that, and what do you put in there? Bait or food or both?
Food. We had bait. We have a built-in freezer up on the bridge that was mainly used for bait. And then we did put one chest freezer was like half bait, half food. And then the other one was food. I knew that there was a lot of support in the DR, but understanding like Cap Cana was kind of like, you kind of have to drive all the way around to go to the restaurants and stuff like that, to go out to the grocery store. I kind of wanted to bring a lot of stuff so we didn't have to do that, because we weren't going to be renting a car or anything when we were there. So we went to Costco, spent, I don't know, $3,000 in food and a couple hours that between Costco, Walmart, and Home Depot, run around, get a list together and grill, freezers, odds and ends, hold mats that put the propellers on, all sorts of stuff like that. So did all that, loaded up, and then we left Wrightsville Beach, and we had a beautiful ride from St. Augustine to from Wrightsville to St. Augustine, Florida, which has the most expensive fuel on the East Coast. I'm pretty confident, or at least south of Ocean City.
How much was that?
At the time, it was $5, which was mind blowing. We were doing this all as fuel was rising at a rapid rate.
I wonder what it's now.
I can't imagine, but I always pull in the St. Augustine, and I'm like, why the hell do I come here? Because I know why I go there, because it's a nice midway stopping point. The inlet's typically not terrible. It's just in a good spot, but the fuel is, for some reason, is crazy expensive there. So
wonder why.
So we did that, and then we had a beautiful ride, and the next day we woke up, and that was the end of our beautiful ride the whole way down. We came around, we got close to Canaveral and it got rough, and we came around Canaveral and it got really rough, and it was just a 6-foot head sea, and we beat our way down. Us and the 68 Viking, I don't know, a delivery guy, they were taking it in the face. No curtains, no hard top, how they come from down there. So
no credit to miserable.
Yeah, credit to Donnie Kaysen. I think that was a 68 Viking, and that thing could barely keep up with us. We were making a good 27 knots into it, and I would say it was 4 to 6 feet, pretty conservatively. And I was on the throttle, but it was like, I had to be aware not to launch the boat, but it wasn't that bad. It was just wet as fuck. So we made it to Palm Beach, slid in there, and stayed at Canasport. Got some fuel from Steve at Dockside. Can't remember Steve's last name now. I think he's out of the Jupiter Stewart area, but Dockside Petroleum. Waited a couple days, had my friend Zach come in to town and fly in from Delaware or from Ocean City, and we waited for 2 days waiting for some weather, and finally got what little weather we were going to get, and I wanted to make it count. So we left Palm Beach Inlet about 3:30 in the morning, blasted out of there pretty much 27 knots in the whatever we could make, and I wanted to get to Long Island in the daylight. So we blasted out of there. I wanted to get fuel. So we blasted out of there, went across to Great Isaacs through Northwest Channel is that? Yep. Yeah. Past Chubb, south of Nassau, and then behind to the west of the Exumas, like when we went through Farmers, I think it was one of the ones Farmers or Gallet. I think it was Gallet that you told me to go through. And I would have gone through Highborn because I would have known that would be the one that I would have known the best, but we would have got our teeth kicked in the whole way to Long Island. So in the Southwest 20 to 25 that we were beating our way into. So talking to you and Rich Barrett convinced me to go down that way, which wasn't a hard convince, but I just didn't know it. But you guys put some confidence in me saying that I could go through that cut, no problem. And it was a beautiful cut. And, we stopped and took some drone footage going through there, and then beat our way the rest of the way to Long Island. And when we got to Long Island, pulled in there, they obviously, because it's Long Island, they were like, well, it's
3 o'clock feels
3 o'clock. If you're going to take 1,000 gallons or however much we were, you should have been here at noon, So we waited. So we decided to stay the night, and had a really good dinner there at whatever the restaurant is. Yeah, it's really good. We waited. We did that, and woke up the next morning, looking at the weather. It's blowing southeast like it does that time of year, and 20 to 25 maybe. Yeah. So we're sitting there kicking around the ideas, kind of wonder what we're gonna do. And at the time, we couldn't go through. Well, still technically, you're not really supposed to go through Turks. So without the code, I wasn't vaccinated. So I couldn't go through Turks, but Rich Barrett, whose name will come up pretty much all the time because he helped me through this whole thing because he's amazing.
Yeah.
He got me in touch with a lady named Belinda, Turks and Caicos in Caicos Islands that put me in touch with the health minister. They gave us permission to go through there. So we left Long Island about 9:30 in the morning. Once we all got that all said and done, maybe more like 10. And we're like, how bad could it be? Well, we made it about 15 miles, and we were down to like 20 knots, and I was just like, Jesus, what are we doing here? But I was like, we can't turn around. Like, and then I had to go into clearing in Long Island, and I didn't really want to do that, so we just kept going. We beat our way down the east side. I'd say this by the time we left, it was probably about 10 in the morning. So by the time we had figured out talked to the right people and exchanged the right emails and got permission to go in the Turks and Caicos, it was about 10 in the morning. So we left, went to the east side of Crooked, and then from Crooked we went to the west side of, I think it's Plana. Yeah, Plana first, the 2 Plana Ks, and then my Iguana, and I went to the west of them thinking that I was going to get a little relief, and we got like, enough relief to, make some lunch and maybe, gather ourselves a little bit, but it really wasn't. I was like, God damn it. Like, it's just like, it's always a head sea going this direction. No matter like if you tuck behind a thing or not, everybody told me, which way you're going, because it's a head sea. You just follow the head sea and it'll take you all the way down past Puerto Rico and basically the rest of the way. So we did that. Luckily got into Turks and Caicos and pulled into Blue Haven. And what was that?
No, I thought when you were saying you're leaving Turks, but yeah, you're pulling into Blue Haven.
Yeah, Blue Haven right before the sun went down. So that was, once we got behind Turks, we had probably 15, 20 miles where we could rip it and get, we had to pick up and go, 1950, 34, 35 knots just to get there before the sun went down. I'd never been through there before. So it was very easy. And we pulled in there and we watched the wind blow, and it was freaking howling, dude. So we stayed there, woke up the next morning, cleared into customs there, got fuel, kind of hung out. Belinda was nice enough to take us around the island a little bit, show us, we didn't have anything to do other than wait out the wind. So went to dinner. And I wasn't planning on leaving, but I was looking at the weather. And it was like the weather says it's going to drop out, but I don't see it dropping out. I didn't have much faith that it was going to drop out, because the next crossing we were going to do from Turks and Caicos to all the way to Cap Cana, which was like, I want to say it's just like 350. I can't remember now.
Yeah, it's pretty far.
340. It's a big crossing.
But didn't you go to Puerto Plata?
No, I didn't. Everybody told me not to go in there. And when I went back, I understood why, because I did go to Puerto Plata on the north side of the DR on the way back, and it was flat calm and it was still shitty. Yeah. With the prevailing wind being what it was, I wasn't going to go in there. So we left basically we were having dinner and we're finishing up dinner, and I'm looking around and I see the palm trees and everything has stopped moving. And I'm like, all right, boys, let's go. So we got in a cab and I was like, hey, sir, we're rolling. And I rolled, and we got to the boat, hopped on the boat. It was probably about 5:30 in the afternoon, almost 6. Left Blue Haven and ran until the sun went down around the east side, and then made our way. It was a nice ride all the way while we were going behind Turks. Then we went out to the south and headed to the east. And by that time, it was probably we were chugging at 10 knots. And by that time, it was probably about midnight when it started getting it again. Yeah. And it was, I don't know how rough it was, but I know this. I took the early shift, and I should have I didn't sleep at all because it was so fucking rough. Yeah. So, and we were doing 10 knots in a boat that I think rides pretty decent. So, but we made it to Cap Cana the next day. We fished our fads off of Macau for a little bit, and missed some sort of billfish on the long rigger, caught a couple dolphins, and then went into Cap Cana. And then the next day went around to Casa de Campo when we were there. That was it. And I mean, looking back on that trip, it was just rough. And if I wouldn't have had Rich to help me put me in contact with the right people in Turks and Caicos, that would have been a horrendous crossing from Long Island to all the way to Cap Cana, which I was planning. I probably would have had to go into Puerto Plata, and who knows, I could have ended up in one of the cement docks, so but yeah, Richie helping me out.
That's scary in there.
It's atrocious, man. Like Pete Manuel was like, whatever you do not go in go into ocean world like this, which is Porta Plata, which is
Yeah.
a port on the north side for people that are listening. And I was like, I heeded everybody's advice, but we took an absolute beating getting down there. But once we were there, fishing was good, and fishing the fads out of Casa de Campo. They had a great season there, and we did, I don't know, pretty well, I guess. I wouldn't say it was great, So, and then fished there, and like I said, Pete Emanuel was a huge help. Shout out to him. He lent us a golf cart for the entire time we were there. Saved us a little bit of money. And who else is there? Jose DeVere.
You do an oil change down there?
I did do an oil change down there. I brought the oil with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to do an oil change after, basically after all our fishing, and I think we fished 14 days in Casa de Campo in 2.5 weeks, and we had to do an oil change, and then we went around to Cap Cana for the rest of the stay. But yeah, I mean, Casa de Campo is great. They have the boatyard there. They have a place that you can get oil buckets and dump your oil and stuff like that. We brought out oil because I wanted to have the right stuff, but I mean, they got enough there to get you through get you through there, man. So grocery store real close. So
yeah.
And then
how'd the boss and everybody like it? I mean, you think it's something that they would do again?
I'll be curious to see if we do it again. The one owner that fished with us, Bill, fished with us in Casa de Campo and really loved it. He came down by himself, and it was just me, the mate, and him for 3 of the 4 days. And being able, I think a place like Casa de Campo with the fads, with these sonars and stuff, it's really, I would say it's not great. Other than if you haven't learned how to use your sonar, it's a great place to go and figure out how to use the sonar, because fish are kind of basically they're captive almost, on the fads. So you kind of get to use that. But for an angler, it's a single angler to go. We up here in Ocean City, we fish a lot of fishing with team. Basically every day we fish with the team, so the owner is part of the team and he gets the same shots as everybody else, like they rotate and, he gets your bites. But to be able to go there and be like, more often than not, the fish come and come on the teaser and be able to fish just a single flat line or pitch bait and be like, he's coming on the teaser and be able to get him the bite more often than not. It was really, really fun. And the fish are super aggressive. It was good training for him. There wasn't I think our best day with him, we had 8 bites. We were 4 for 8 in a white marlin. So, I mean, we didn't have the best ratios all the time, but just having that time to be able to fish with him, just him, and be able to get the shots just for him instead of like, somebody else getting them, which is not bad, but he needs to practice. He wanted to go to practice. And I felt like there's a couple ways you can slow it down for an angler. What I'd say is slow it down when you're fishing is like, you can either go to a place like Cabo or Isla Mujeres or Costa Rica when they're firing, or Guatemala, and really get a lot of bites. Or now I've learned that you could just speed it up, compared to a white marlin. These blue marlins, they're not much different in size, but they're quite a bit more angry, and you got to be more ready. You're going to end up in a backlash. So I thought that speeding that experience up of getting the fish on the teaser was really great for him. And if I were to suggest if anybody was going to go there with your boat, I would suggest to fish with a light crew, because it's somewhere where you can really get a lot of one-on-one experience with the fish. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. And that was I would say that was Casa de Campo was the highlight of our trip. We fished 14 days and caught like 30 something blue marlins. I thought it was decent for us. It wasn't setting the world on the fire like Ryan Riggs on the Outlier and JT were on the Salty Fair. Those guys we missed out on a couple days where we just weren't scheduled to fish those days, but they had some, I think one day they caught like 14 blues, the Salty Fair, and the Outlier caught 10 in a white. And the next day they were like 12 and 8 or something like that. Just great fishing. So, and then we got out there and, we're 4 for 8, which is, great. We go a long ways up here to get that sort of fishing. So to go 18 miles and, the great thing about Casa de Campo is it's flat calm the first 12 miles, and we were only going 18 miles. So, we had good fishing, learning the fads. I wouldn't consider that fishing like the kind of fishing where you go out there and really analyze the conditions and figure it out from like how we do it up here. But there's a trick to it, and the guys on the Salty Fair, they got it figured out. If they ain't catching them, you might as well just go in, because they're incredible.
Yeah, they are.
So
I mean, it's too bad you guys didn't really get I know you guys had good fishing, but I wish you guys would have had some of the epic fishing that happens. You know?
yeah, I mean, my one goal was to just get to get the opportunity to catch 10 in a day. To catch 10 in a day would have been a dream come true, because I'd never seen blue marlin fishing like that. We don't get that. To catch 3, to catch 10 in a season up here in Ocean City can be a good season.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get pushing 20 shots a day, that was something that kind of just didn't work out for us. We just didn't have the correct schedule. What great thing about it is, when the full moon's coming around, but you just know that, because the Salty Fair guys come into town and they start fishing. Think it's incredible about that place is you can base it on the moon for owners. It's like, hey, just when you want to, one of my pitches to go there was like, hey, we know when they're going to be biting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and then we went around to
and what do you guys do for not fishing wise, but like, I know you guys brought a lot of food, so you guys doing a lot of like just grilling and stuff?
Yeah,
yourself?
We grilled. We would grill for me and Nathan, the mate. We would try to eat in a little bit. Granted, the yacht club there was so cheap, and a great part about being there in Costa de Campo is they have this incredible yacht club where the drinks are cheap and the food's not great, but it's cheap. So we ate up there about half the time, and then we ate on the boat half the time when it was just me and Nathan there. And when the owners came in or guests came in, we would cook lunches and everything for the when they came in. So we would have dinner out, but we would, the day before, as we were rigging up, one of our things we had to do when we were rigging up was to cook lunch for the 3 or 4 days that everybody came. So we'd have all that pretty simple. My guys can get pretty elaborate, but our chef wasn't there for the
Your chef?
He's not a chef, but he's the guy who does all the cooking. His name's Ernie, and he took one for the team last year and got stabbed by a marlin. He's one of our anglers, and he's a great angler, but he's also loves to have great food out and when we're fishing. And the man makes an incredible club sandwich, amongst other things. I mean, one year he whipped up whipped cream and we had crepes on the boat. This is years and years ago, but it's kind of getting off topic. But yeah, we would a lot of our food was there for the lunches for guests or the owners for when fishing or when the owners went there. And then we did eat around Casa de Campo in the evenings, and that was great. I mean, it was really good food and good vibes and a lot going on there. So we did a lot of that, and then we moved around the Cap Cana, and then we got there and had a couple days, got set up and started fishing with the other owner, Pete. And man, I struggled there. That's for sure. I couldn't get into the Puerto Rican rhythms fishing 120 feet like those guys from Puerto Rico. Doña Lucy, a boat called the AY360 was doing well when we were there. The LASIK, I just couldn't figure out why they were just fishing in 120 feet with no bait off the red. What is it? The red houses there. Yeah. I was like, geez, like what is going on there? I would be out there on the rocks wandering around, and I got some bites, finding some bait on the outside. I found some good bait on the outside of the hot dog, and when the tide would change, there would be a rip there to the east of the hot dog on like the shallow spot, and I would get in there in like 140 feet, and I would be like, oh, we're gonna catch one. The first time I was like, we're gonna see one right here. We did that like 2 or 3 days in a row, but beyond that I couldn't figure out anything else about that place. So I struggled with Pete. I think the best day we were 1 for 3 on whites and 0 for 1 on blues the 3 days that we fished with the other inner Pete. That was kind of bummed me out a little bit. So and then we had some guests come in, and we ran over to the Mona Island where we started having decent fishing again. So
what was your best day over there?
I think we had 2. I think it was us in the boat called the Outlier from Charleston. The captain was Ryan Riggs. No matter what you would do, no matter what you saw, you basically ended up with either 2 blues and a white or 2 whites and a blue. We did 2 days over there, and they probably did 5 or 6 days over there. No, we did 3 days over there, and they did 5 or 6 days in the blue, and we could never catch more than 3 fish, but it was a combination of either 2 whites and a blue or two blues and a white. Like no matter what, we could never catch any more than that. I think Riggs did catch like 4 blues over there one day, and they were a little bit nicer fish over there. And it was cool, nice scenery. The birds would come off the island and eat your baits and like follow you around for hours. So you're basically teaser fishing a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Just grabbing your baits and wrapping them around the outrigger and stuff like that. So
The gannets.
I don't know what they were. Just those frigates would come, and we call them sailor gulls up here, but they're like, I don't know, they're like a seabird. You see them, they wheel around, they kind of wander around down sea most of the time. But there's a lot of them that live on those 2 islands, that's for sure. But really beautiful place. So kind of direct, like I think it's direct King Kong or Jurassic Park. King Kong, I think it's a movie. You kind of come up on this big rock in the middle of the ocean. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean that, and then we wrapped it up. We fished 20 days in 2 months, which for the blood money is like a crazy amount. It didn't feel like a lot because the days were a lot shorter than what we're used to up here. But then we wrapped it up and headed home. It was the opposite the whole way home. Flat calm for all the way to Ocean City. That's
awesome.
Pretty nice. Stopped through Crooked.
Better to have it on the way home than the way there,
I guess. I don't. Yeah, because I was.
After a long
wasn't
trip, dude, you're just like, I want to get home, and
Yeah. So yeah, we left Cap Cana and went to Puerto Plata, which like I said, I'm glad I never went there when it was surgy, because that place has got to be awful. I don't know if I would have. Just pulling up to that fuel dock was there. Was it wasn't bad when we pulled up, but I could see how it could be awful.
Yeah.
Did that, and then went to Turks again, and then from Turks, because it was just me and Nathan going home, because I kind of knew what we were getting into and we were going to do. We had more daylight, so we could do it all in a day.
Yeah.
So it was just me and Nathan. We did that. Went from Turks, and then went from Turks to Crooked. And like Turks, like we'd left Turks at like 11:30 in the morning, because we had to get cleared in and cleared out and get fuel. So we finally got that, and then we got to Crooked and pulled into Crooked. And Richie Barrett was there on the shark bite, and the Blue View. Taylor was there. The Gator, which was a beautiful Mark Willis boat. My guy from Delaware, Max, runs it. And the Saber, I can't remember the guy name on the guy, a little Whitaker boat from Stewart, but he was nice enough to take us diving for an afternoon on their Aubrey Brothers.
Nice.
Which was a pretty cool experience, because I'd never seen. I mean, I've been to some places and seen some cool water, but I don't think I've ever seen water that pretty.
Yeah. No, it's special, man. It's nothing like it.
Yeah, I realized that I did a lot of free diving in East Lima Harris when we had the boat there one year, and I was not in shape to be doing that. So what I could do then was not what I could do now. So that was kind of embarrassing, but beautiful spot, Crooked. We went to a place called Gibson's, I think it was, where a cafeteria style dinner where everybody sits at the same table, everybody eats the same thing, and it was really fun. We went with basically everybody in the marina. I thought that was a pretty special night, and I appreciate Rich Barrett including us in that. And I think Crooked's a really cool place. I would like to go back there. I'm really bummed out. We were supposed to fish the whole way through the Southern Bahamas and up to the Abacos and slide into the Abacos after the custom boat shootout with the other owner, Bill, but he couldn't. He just had some family stuff come up. So my biggest regret is this whole experience is that Bill wasn't able to take that ride with us, because I think he would have really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So we went. Then I was kind of waiting out an incredibly large storm that we were having up this way in Crooked. So finally it let up, and we made a long haul from Crooked to Palm Beach. And then from Palm Beach to Charleston to Moorhead, and Moorhead to Ocean City. Once we got north of Oregon Inlet, the fog was pretty much, you could see about 40 feet off the bow. the whole way, the last 150 miles. So that kind of sucked.
Oh, that's crazy.
But pretty used to that. Like that, anytime I come home to Ocean City, it's like that. But overall, pretty good experience. I hope the owners enjoyed it and the guests enjoyed it. You know, it's a long anymore with the fuel prices. What I quoted the trip, you know, when I did my I do like a
Calculations.
calculation and kind of a presentation. They asked me to put together a couple, and then they asked me to put together one from the Dominican. After I had done one for the Charleston area, and then one for the Southern Bahamas and the Abacos, and then ultimately one for the Dominican. And they picked the Dominican, and it made sense because, you know, it's not like if your owner coming from Florida, it's kind of a logistical issue for them to fly down to Florida and then get on a small plane and line all that up. You know, my guys don't have they're not private jet people quite yet. I don't know if they ever will be. You know, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, the guys that I had we were there with in Crooked, they all had jets, you know, or somebody who had a jet so they could fly in, you know, which is, you know, that's a whole nother level of, you know, money. But to be able for them to one of the owners lives about 40 minutes from Newark, an hour from Newark Airport, and the other one lives 20 minutes from Baltimore Airport, so they could fly direct to Punta Cana, and that was easy. So that's why we picked there instead of doing the Southern Bahamas. So
it's easy. It makes, like you said, it makes it easy for anybody going there, you know?
Yeah. And I just like the fact, like, you know, you didn't have to worry about getting a slip in somewhere. You know, I called around and getting a slip in some of the smaller islands in the Bahamas and stuff like that. It was difficult. You know, there was a lot of people down there. So called down to those two marinas in the DR. They're like, yeah, we got all sorts of slips. You can take 5 if you want, you know? Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a lot of work and a lot of looking at weather charts, you know, getting there and back. But I'm super glad we did it. I hope my bosses feel the same way, even though it was basically twice as expensive as it was planning on being with the fuel. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just a lot of prep work to do it. And once you're on your way, it doesn't feel like that. But I mean, I looked at the weather from probably every night. You can ask my girlfriend, basically every night before I went to bed on my iPad, just kind of studying what the weather pattern was going to be, basically from January to the day we left, you know. And you're like, it seemed really, really overwhelming for me because I've done, you know, we took the Old Blood Money to Mexico a couple times, and we went to, and I took a boat called the Tranquilo to Costa Rica once, and that's pretty much. And then I've done up and down to Florida a bunch of times, but I haven't, like Rich Barrett, like you talk to that guy, he's been everywhere. So he's like, yeah, you just kind of do it, you know, it's no big deal, you know. But that being said, he's super serious about his planning, and he helped me out a lot with, you know, how the weather affects you in certain areas and, you know, where you want to be in a certain time. So I don't know. It was a good trip, man. I'm just happy to be home. We left with the propellers that we left with are the same propellers that are on the boat. And I really,
that's a success in itself.
Yeah. We there's
a lot of shit floating around down there, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm super happy.
Did you actually see, I mean, I know when I was there it was bad, but did you have any of those like close encounters where you see a tree floating by?
I would say a tree, you know.
Oh, like, I mean,
no, I honestly not like that. No,
I don't know. Maybe
I'm sure
maybe it's rainier, like rainy season when I guess it gets worse, but I mean, it gets bad. Or if you're not paying attention, your trip's over.
Yeah. I mean, when we hauled the boat, I mean, there was plenty of scratches and stuff of us hitting stuff, you know, who knows when that would have been, but we hauled the boat. There's enough scratches on it, but our boat rides super flat, even when it's running at 30 at a high speed. So I feel like we're fortunate that a lot of stuff gets pushed out of the way. Whereas, like, you know, your old Spencer, I fished on the Max Bet, a 66 Spencer, their bow's way up in the air. And I just feel like it's just whatever your boat's going to hit when you're running like that, it's just all propellers, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. We just load up a lot of fuel, food, kind of look at the weather a whole bunch, stress out about the weather, think about the weather, talk to people about the weather, and then you just kind of pull the trigger eventually and let the weather beat your teeth in, you know?
Well, no way around it.
Yeah. So, and then, but you had a similar experience. I mean, you just got done the big refit on the wire transfer, and then
Yeah, I mean,
it was all you could do to get that thing ready for a trip to Harbor Island.
yeah,
right?
and obviously after doing that much work, you need some sort of shakedown trip, and shit's bound to go wrong. And I mean, but it's good. The boat's still new to me. I'm learning it, and I mean, we're definitely shaking everything out of it for sure. So yeah, we're getting ready, and hopefully by the end of next week we'll be heading down to Long Island. Try to.
Well, your original trip was to go to Harbor Island and then do a couple other stops, right?
Yeah, I mean, we thought we could just keep it going from there, but it turned out, obviously it didn't work that way, and it's good. We're home now. I just, out of the water now, doing some final preparations, and now we could finally leave and now go keep going. I mean, I think we're gonna, like I said, try to catch whatever fishing's left of Long Island, and then probably do like BVI DR.
Nice.
So.
Now you got to tell, because nobody knows. I don't know if you want to talk about, but this fuel thing. I don't know if you want to talk about it with you, but that is, we got to. I think maybe we should tell people. Like, my whole trip seemed pretty awesome and everything, but there's obviously days where shit is just going completely wrong, and you had a fuel issue. And did you have to get in there and clean the fuel tank out yourself?
Basically, we had someone along the line, not us, but someone had put an access hatch in the front of the tank. But it turns out when we opened the front of the fuel tank, it turned out that really did nothing, because there's just baffles everywhere.
I got you. Yeah,
the pickups are in the back of the tank, so it really does no good putting access in the front of the tank. So whoever did that originally, they didn't really know what they're doing, because if they would have put that access hatch in the back of the tank where the pickups were, it would have been a super easy, open it up, basically grab everything out of there, suck it up, and then put it back on and send it. But that wasn't the case. We had to suck.
So hold on, but basically, for people that didn't I know this problem because me and Nick have become buddies doing this, but you're having fuel issues. Like, you'd polish the tank. It was one of the things you were doing after the refit, but when you had fuel issues while you were over in the Bahamas, and your ray cores and everything were getting clogged up, right?
I mean, yeah, I had the tank polished before we even left. But I really think, and after talking to a lot of people, it sounds like that just pushed everything that was in the tank. It pushed it past all the baffles to back where the pickups were.
I got you.
And that's why, I guess no one had really experienced those issues before. And obviously I was the lucky guy to deal with all of it.
Yeah, but that's not a fun. You'll be running along, and the next thing you know, you just lose power, and think it's not a fun place to be.
Yeah, I mean, and then you're like questioning everything you did. You're like, well, did I put enough fuel in the boat? Yeah, I topped the boat with fuel.
And with a new boat. Yeah, and with a new boat. And to everybody who's not familiar with custom built sport fishers, no two are the same, and nobody knows exactly how much fuel any of these fucking boats carry. I don't care. My boat says it holds 2,200 gallons of fuel. I don't really know. And, when you start, you have we're really excited people, to get a new boat and use it. And you guys spent an incredibly long time in the boatyard, so I'm sure your boss was jacked up to go.
Oh yeah.
And you fill the fuel tank to the top till it basically overflows, or till it overflows, and you're like, all right, I got enough fuel. And your boat's older. I don't know, do you even have a gauge that says how much you're burning or anything like that?
No, I have nothing. So it's I just have one little Century, which you can't really rely off that in any way,
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's basically a guessing game. It still is a guessing game,
Yeah.
It's so back to old school, run for a little bit, fill it back up, see how much you burned, and divide it with the amount of time and everything, and figure it out.
It's a lot of math, dude.
Yeah.
Back to school. But I mean, you think about we're professional captains, and we should know exactly, have and everybody does it. Like you're like, oh yeah, put enough fuel in. You do the math like 6 times, and then you're running somewhere. In your case, the freaking it was like the engine was running out of fuel. So I'm sure
That's what
oh
everyone's
my
like.
God.
Yeah, and then the first thing I talked to people was like, "Oh, it sounds like you ran out of fuel," and I was like, "Well, then shit, I don't know what I'm doing." Thank God. I mean, I wasn't even obviously, and luckily my boss was on the boat with me, so he got to kind of see the whole thing unfold. And obviously, when we made it back in and to Chubb and got fuel, the boat only took 400 gallons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's I mean, to be able to do what you guys did and then just to take your boat. I mean, I guess going to the Bahamas is not like a huge thing for you guys, but for us, that would be like craziness. We would do a lot of sea trials, and stuff like that. And I'm sure you did, but it's kind of like you eventually just got to pull the trigger and do it.
Yeah.
And it sucks you guys had to come back, but I'm sure it worked out.
Yeah, I mean,
for the best.
I mean, it ended up being, the list of things to knock out, was, just, it was good enough to come back and knock them out. And now going even further, now I'll feel a lot more confident in the boat itself, doing it. I mean, obviously if we would have went straight from harbor, I would have been kind of clenching the whole time, but
because you always feel like you have all the spare parts, but you never have the spare parts. And this always seems like you can only bring so much stuff with you,
No, and I realize you're like, oh yeah, I needed more of this. I forgot this, it's just like, all right, good though.
Like my thing was our Spot Zero filters. They got clogged up like the second day we were there. I put new filters in, put new membranes in, everything in the DR. And then I was like, shit, I didn't bring any spare pre-filters, So we're out there on the dock rinsing them off, like trying to get the Spot Zero fired up again, But it's like stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that,
And so is something, man. You can't. It's too much.
Yeah, I like it when like super seasoned captains are like, oh hey, can you bring this with you? Like something that I was like, oh man, I have one of those, Or like I have a spare one of those, and they're like, I forgot that. So it makes me feel like not such an idiot.
Yeah. And everybody does it, dude. Everyone.
Yeah.
Could you bring this? It's just, dude, you're always just bound there's just too much involved for long trips like that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to, it's a custom built piece of machinery, and no two are alike, at least for the boats that we're on. And even Vikings are so different now that it's like you don't know. There's so many thousands of things that might go wrong that typically don't go wrong, but you got to be ready for that stuff to go wrong. So, I mean, but that's just one of those things. I didn't know if you'd actually been able, I forgot about the baffles and how they build a fuel tank, but like talk about we talk about these incredible things that we do, but let's talk about the months in the boatyard with you. I just ground out a piece of rotted wood out of my boat today. Just replacing it. There was a little crack, and I was like doing a little pencil grinder, and I was just going to fill it with fairing compound. I was like, oh yeah, this will be, next thing you know, there's a section like that big of a piece of fiberglass and rotted wood cut out. So there's certainly less glamorous sides of this that I certainly don't put them on the Instagram or anything like that, but maybe we should be like, oh yeah, this is what happens when you kick an oil bucket over when you're doing an oil change, or you're getting, like, you get your headphones on and you're rocking away and you're like draining oil out of one engine, and then you're like trying to get the fuel filter or change the fuel filters at the same time, and next thing you know, you overflow. It's a disaster. Can't tell you how many times I've done stuff like that.
Yeah. So we got a leaking through hole now on the main, so that's why I'm out of the water right now, and I'm pretty sure when they pull that out tomorrow, I'm pretty sure all just, hopefully not much, but I'm pretty sure all the little wood around that is going to be probably rotted out.
Yeah. What year's your boat?
99.
Wow, that's like, I mean, my boat's
hole number 1, Weaver.
Yeah, that's crazy. One thing that we did, like in the middle of getting all the ready to go, we did an insurance survey before we left, like 4 or 5 days before we left. They caught some things that I needed to take care of, and that threw a lot of stress on me and stuff like that. We had to haul the boat, get a through haul repaired and stuff like that to satisfy the insurance company. and that was stressful, but it wasn't, when it was actually, I say it was stressful, but it was a good little audit on me and what I'm doing to make sure that my shit was right. And for the most part, it was fine, but yeah, we had to haul it in a very small travel lift and replace the through haul and some other things. So yeah, it's definitely, we should definitely highlight more of the less glamorous side of this, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's cool when you're out there winning tournaments and everything, but and just fishing in general in these incredible spots. But the less glamorous sides are lots of time in the boat yard, getting covered with dust, probably inhaling shit we shouldn't be inhaling.
Yeah.
And phone calls with wives and girlfriends that don't always go well. I'm sure your wife is happy that you're
We made a home
have
for a little bit more,
Yeah. I was going to stay another day in Crooked to kind of wait out the weather a little bit more. And I'd call my girlfriend and I'd be like, I'll be home on a certain day, and I could hear the disappointment in her voice. And, I'd say they're pretty amazing for putting up with what we do. Cause I would say it's a pretty selfish pursuit. We're not out here saving lives.
Yeah.
So for them to understand,
and it definitely looks super selfish to them.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I was happy my girlfriend came down for a little bit, which is good.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it is taxing on the home life a little bit, but I still wouldn't trade it. And I really love the boat yard stuff because I don't love it. I obviously haven't been through 2 major refits like you have. Like, I would hate the boatyard stuff if it was like that. But like to go in, do seasonal maintenance and stuff like that, for a couple weeks at a time really doesn't bother me. Makes me feel.
It's nice to have the downtime and do all that, and then you learn your boat more or learn something new, maintenance wise. Which I feel like, as much as I hate being in the yard for long periods of time, I've learned a lot, man. A lot.
There's a lot to go into these things, just the way they're put together, the systems that go along with them. We're kind of, my boat's an 06, yours is a 99. They're older boats, so it's a whole different style of learning like that,
Oh yeah.
And they're old enough and simple enough that you can fix them yourself, which is kind of annoying. I see everybody else they're like, I can't figure that out. Let me just call somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing too, is like my first go around on the Spencer, now to this one, I'd say, I went from, more almost watching and kind of a little bit of a helping hand till now actually I could do a lot of it myself and a lot more hands-on, and now like understanding everything. Not everything I'm looking at it like cross-eyed,
Yeah.
So definitely a good learning.
It'll help you out down the road because exactly like,
oh yeah,
when you're down in the islands there, you're on your, there's some support in some places, but you're kind of on your own, and so to know your boat well is ideal.
Absolutely. So, and I definitely feel a lot more confident now in the boat,
Yeah, I think that was one thing that we had the boat for 3 years before we left. So one thing I was like, unless we didn't have a major mechanical failure, which thankfully we didn't. I knew the boat was going to perform the way it should. That I did a delivery once on a boat that just got a refit. We did about a 35-minute sea trial, and then we left to go to Costa Rica, and that was a little more stressful than taking my boat that I've been on for 4 years and be like, because there's certain things that that you can you don't say say the window's leaking or something like that. Like, I know that the top side of my boat is all composite, so I don't have to worry about the rot.
Yeah.
I can let that go. Certain things that you have to address while underway or something, and then there's certain things that you can wait till you get somewhere, or even wait till you get back to the States where you can really address it properly.
Yeah,
like certain things I don't know, but yeah, it's good to know what you're getting into with these things. So
absolutely, man. Especially when you're going a long distance, man. Gotta know. Gotta be prepared.
Yeah, there's nobody out there to help you in the southern once you get south of Long Island. It's just you're just kind of out there.
No man's land.
So it's good to have confidence in the boat. So
yeah.
Well, cool, buddy.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't have to be Bubba Carter.
No, we certainly are not that, or Q or anything
Q,
like that.
Art. Oh, you weren't there for Art.
I wanted to be there. That was the one we were doing when I was trying to get the crooked that day.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say thank you, Rich Barrett. You helped me a lot getting down there. Richie, Pete Manuel, the guys from the Donnie Lucy, and Jose from the Black Gold that we had on the pod once. I think that it goes overshadowed how much help you need to do it. Like you see every once in a while people do it like without, like, they're just like, yeah, we just kind of got here and like, they just didn't have any help, navigating customs and weather and other stuff like that. Like just like getting groceries and stuff like that. Like sometimes that's a problem in certain places.
Yeah.
It helps to know the right person. So I appreciate everybody who helped me. I'm sure there's a lot of people that I didn't even name, but everybody who helped me. Who's the guy at the Buccaneer? Richie. I don't know Richie's last name, but it's the dock master at the Buccaneer. Got fuel for me late one night in Palm Beach. That really made my girlfriend happy because I was able to stay on schedule. So I appreciate him too. So, well, cool. I think we've babbled on enough about our shit.
Well, thanks for listening. Anthony Pino with Hooked Optics, captain of the Blood Money. I'm Nick Carullo. Catch you on the next one.